Ukraine troops broke through near Zaporizhzhia's Verbove. Advances further, the commander of Ukraine's southern counteroffensive says Ukrainian forces broke through near Zaporizhzhia's Verbove in the direction of Tokmak, a strategic hub for Russia. Ukrainian Brigadier General Oleksandr Tarnavsky, leading the counteroffensive in the country's south, says Ukraine's forces have broken through near Verbove in western Zaporizhzhia Oblast's Melitopol direction and predicts an even more significant breakthrough to come in recent weeks. Video has emerged of a dramatic tank battle in southern Ukraine as Kyiv's forces seek to widen gaps in Russia's defensive lines by deploying columns of armor. Ukraine's defense ministry posted drone footage to X, formerly known as Twitter, on Wednesday showing the tank duel between a Ukrainian T-64BV and a Russian T-72B3, with the former besting the latter in a close-quarters fight through a rural tree line. The Ukrainian military claimed to have penetrated Russia's first line of fortified defenses in Zaporizhzhia Oblast. The strategic goal of the Ukrainian counteroffensive in the south is to cut Russia's land bridge, linking the recently occupied Azov Sea coast to the Crimean Peninsula that Russia had occupied and annexed back in 2014. Tarnavsky told CNN that the big breakthrough of the counteroffensive would be if Ukraine could reclaim the town of Tokmak, a strategic hub for Russia, which is its first major target on the southern front. Recent days have seen reports emerge of a new armored push on the southern front, with Ukrainian units seeking to exploit gaps in Russia's so-called Surovikin line of defenses around the settlement of Verbove, north of the logistical hub of Tokmak and the strategic prize of Melitopol. Kyiv's ultimate goal is to drive south to reach the Sea of Azov coastline, thus severing the land corridor connecting occupied Crimea to western Russia. Earlier this week, the Ukrainian forces were still some 20 kilometers from Tokmak, struggling to break through the multi-layered Russian defenses. Ukraine's military executes a large-scale air attack on Russian bases in occupied Crimea, using kamikaze drones and cruise missiles, and utilizing diversionary tactics today. There are a lot of new developments in the south. Here, Ukrainians conducted the biggest and most comprehensive strike on the Russian bases in Crimea. In the footage, the Russian tank appeared to be firing along the length of the tree line, its barrel parallel to the foliage that concealed the Ukrainian tank only meters away from the Russian vehicle. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian tank appeared to be already lining up a shot on the rival armored vehicle. The Ukrainian tank fired 2 rounds into the Russian tank's side in quick succession, seemingly immobilizing the T-72B3. White smoke began billowing from the Russian tank hatches, suggesting the penetration of its armored hull. Russian sources reported that Ukrainians attacked an oil depot near Sochi with aerial kamikaze drones. One of the drones managed to hit one of the reservoirs on the site and cause a massive fire. The target of the first strike, however, became the Krasnodar region. The goal of the attack was to divert the attention of the Russian forces from the area of the main strike later. The footage from the site clearly featured the remnants of the kamikaze drone. Several hours after the successful strike on the oil depot, Ukrainian drones started flying all over Crimea. Ukrainians focused their attacks on 3 different areas: northern, western, and southern. In the northern part of the region, explosions were heard near Dzhankoy. Dzhankoy is one of the main logistical hubs that connects Crimea and Russia with the Kherson and Zaporizhzhia regions. The targets of the strike were likely railroad facilities and warehouses on the outskirts of the town, where Russians usually had a lot of ammunition and equipment. Russians already understood the threat of the new cruise missiles in the Ukrainian arsenal and started targeting Ukrainian airfields. Recently released footage by the Russian side shows how Russians used a kamikaze drone Lancet to attack MiG-29 on the airfield around 70 kilometers from the front. This strike raised a lot of questions, especially why Ukrainians have their jets in the open so close to the front. The answer is simple. Previously, Russians could not conduct such long-distance strikes discreetly. Usually they used Shaheeds and missiles. The Russian units in question were the 72nd Motor Rifle Brigade, as well as the 31st and 83rd Air Assault Brigades. In the fighting in the Bakhmut section, some of the enemy's best units have been crushed and have completely lost their combat power, Syrskyi said in a statement, hailing the recapture of Klishchiivka and Andriivka. Syrskyi said Ukrainian forces were continuing their advance and had some success piercing Russian defense lines, though Moscow's forces were counterattacking from multiple directions in a bid to regain their lost positions. Russia's military had lost another 39 artillery systems in the past 24 hours, Ukraine said on Monday, as artillery maintains its place at the forefront of the grinding battle between Moscow and Kiev in the south and east of the country. The Kremlin's fighters have lost a total of 6,299 artillery systems in the long months since Russia began its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, according to updated figures from Ukraine's General Staff. Ukraine has also suffered large-scale artillery losses. Moscow said on Monday that Kiev has lost 6,533 field artillery guns and mortars in the more than 18 months of war. Neither Russia's nor Ukraine's figures can be independently verified, and neither government makes a habit of divulging their own losses. However, Ukraine has received a steady flow of replacement artillery and ammunition from Western backers. Washington included several different types of artillery rounds in the latest $325 million package of military aid for Kiev, including 155mm shells, more dual-purpose improved conventional munitions, DPICNS, and ammunition for high-mobility artillery rocket systems, HIMARS.